Man, listen up. Just because you had a spiritual awakening or are finally getting into all these types of topics, pieces of wisdom, and overall information on the spiritual path does not make you exempt from not having an ego. And matter of fact, today we're going to be talking about how spirituality may actually enhance and boost your ego more than it is to transcend it. So without further ado, let's break this bitch down real quick like a brick for y'all. Now, if you've been tapped into this channel, if you've been tapped into the main channel, you already know about my whole views on New Age spirituality, which is a debauchery of actual ancient concepts, ancient pieces of wisdom, whether that's through religion, whether that's through philosophy, and just meshing it all together, and not in a symbiotic way where they're helping to enhance one another, but it's to warp it in whatever shape, way, or form that fits your needs and fits your own worldviews. And that in turn feeds the ego and feeds your overall disillusion to attaching yourself to being quote unquote spiritual now. This happens with religion too, but we're not going to get too much into the religious aspect of it today. We'll touch on it a little bit, but we're going to get more of that later on. But what I'm trying to preach about here, or just relay the information here, is the fact that just because you're getting into spiritual concepts and just because you're getting into the whole concept of transcendental knowledge doesn't mean that you're free from the ego now. And I don't want to say that the ego is a bad thing. You might have heard me speak about it on this channel or on the main channel, that ego is not the enemy. The only quote unquote bad part of the ego is the fact that you attach to it, you identify with it, you let it take control. And the more you feed into whatever it is, it could be spirituality, it could be money, it could be materialistic desires, it could be your career. The more you attach yourself and attach your overall identity to whatever it is, the more distance you're going to create to your eternal self, to your higher self, to your actual embodiment of what's really beyond just the physical and the mental. What's actually there underneath all of this? What's actually there when you pass away? Like, that is the real root cause of religion and spirituality, philosophy, is to connect to that part of you. They're all tools in the toolbox that might help one person more than another. One might be more suited to you, one might be suited to another person more, but in totality is to connect you to that divinity within you, that spiritual side to you, awaken your spiritual senses. Yet when you attach yourself to, I'm quote unquote spiritual, I'm quote unquote a chosen one, which you might have recalled on this channel, where I kind of bash on the whole idea of just being, oh, I'm a chosen one because I'm getting into spirituality, because a lot of people out here are just NPCs. Well, you have some truth to that a lot of people out there are NPCs, but they're just the same reflection as you on just different levels of consciousness. All is God. Everything is God. Everything is a primordial source projecting itself into different forms of life that are operating on different levels of consciousness. You might be on a higher level than somebody, you might be on a lower level than somebody, you might be on a higher level than the plants, you might be on a lower level than the plants. I don't know, man. Maybe you fucking fried, you deep fry like fucking French fries from McDonald's. You might be lower than the plants. Who knows, maybe the plants are vibrating higher than all of us. But what I'm saying is that all these projections are from that one universal source. So thinking that you're a chosen one, thinking that you're quote unquote spiritual and everybody else isn't, is diluting the fact that the whole purpose of these paths is to strip away the egoic mind, not completely, but to strip it away to the point where you see the universal connection between everything. You see see past the veil of duality. You see past the Maya, the matrix, the illusion, whatever you want to call it. You see past all that stuff. And the more you see past all that stuff, you understand that the ego is essentially fed by whatever you give it. It's not the the driver of all these quote unquote bad things, or making you less spiritual, more spiritual, blah blah blah. It's just protecting whatever identity that you feed it. If you feed it to this idea that you're spiritual now, and you're gonna go buy crystals, and you're gonna go do ayahuasca, do psychedelics, and I'm gonna go meditate and this and that. Well, it might help you on the path, those types of tools, but when you attach yourself to that and your persona and your personality, guess what? Now it's more of a hindrance to your path, because it's another layer formed on top of the illusion. It might be a more productive layer, but at the end of the day, it's a layer that you got to strip away if you truly want to get to the core essence of your being. You dig what I'm saying? You're picking up what I'm putting down. Those layers are always gonna pile up more and more on top of each other. And maybe when you got on the spiritual path, when you get into New Age spirituality, when you get into religion, whatever it is, it might cut away some of the surface layers, but in the process is gonna add on another layer that's still gonna deter you from the true nature to your being. So what I want you to understand is, just because you're getting into these types of pieces of information and you're going down the spiritual path, doesn't matter what it is for you, doesn't matter how you perceive it. You just got to understand that it's human nature to want to identify yourself with a cause, with something bigger than you, whether that's spirituality, whether that's your job, whether that's a religion, whether that's your nationality, ethnicity, your shit, even what football team you like, what basketball team you like, what players you like. You want to identify yourself with something that's beyond just you, and you put your ego kind of absorbs that as a part of it. And when the ego absorbs that part of it, even though you're absorbing something that's quote unquote good, like spirituality and just overall elevating your levels of consciousness and all the traits that come along with that, it's still gonna make you in turn delude the fact that you are an observer of everything. You are watching everything happen. You are not that act. You are not that trait. You are not that person even. You're the observer watching that entity go throughout its day and choose to act in certain aspects in life, choose to put himself in certain situations, choose to follow certain paths through the divine will of the universe that's working through him. You're observing all that. And the more you can tap into that through things that essentially strip away the attachments, because at the end of the day, that's what we're really trying to do on the spiritual path. It's not by, oh, I'm gonna add in meditation to my routines, or, oh, I'm gonna buy crystals, or, I'm gonna read all these books, or, I'm gonna listen to Fulati Fitness, or, I'm gonna listen to this podcast, go to these retreats, take all these psychedelics. What you're not trying to add, those types of things, the core essence of it, prayer, meditation, all these overall practices that come along with spirituality, is trying to lessen your overall, not output, but lessen the attachments you have to life, and lessen the stress that you put on yourself on this human experience, that will shift your focus from the divine higher pursuits down to more lower egoic and materialistic pursuits. That's a part of life. I'm not saying you got to transcend all of that right now. It might not even be this lifetime where you do all that. But to truly attain the highest spiritual levels of life, if you want to call that, it's about detaching. And if you might have heard my videos on this channel, on the main channel, talking about the law of detachment being the most important thing for your spiritual growth, have a whole video about that on the Patreon. If you want to join and become a member, get access to exclusive videos, occult lectures, full guides, and monthly masterminds we do with video calls with our certain group in a certain tier membership we got in the Patreon. Make sure to check out the pinned comment of this video, as there's going to be a link included to the Patreon. You guys can go check it out, support the boy, and get up on more sauce. But all these types of pieces of content where I've made about the law of detachment really emphasizes this point and really brings it into connection with any topic that we're talking about. And for right now, we're talking about how spirituality, all this type of stuff, doesn't make you not have an ego. It can boost the ego. It can make you even more manic. It can even make you more of a narcissist, where the world revolves around me, the world revolves around me, the world revolves around me. I'm spiritual, you're not spiritual. I'm smarter than you, you're dumb. I meditate more than you, you don't meditate. You're an NPC, I'm not. Like, we are not in a dick swinging contest when it comes to life, bro, especially when it comes to spirituality. This is a piece of life, piece of your overall development in life, where less is more. The less you do, the less you think, the less you just exert yourself into the physical and material, the more of the spiritual senses kick in. That's why meditation, you're lessening the thoughts, lessening the stimulation, lessening the overall action in the mind. And what happens? The spiritual senses awaken. You get put into deep trance states. You get divine intuition flowing into you. You get all these innovations. You get all these ideas. Like, that's where the spiritual senses really kick in, is when you do less on the physical and material, which comes into the point where the ego really wants to take in control. It wants to do more. And that if you live in the westernized world, more is always attributed to better. Where in the East, especially in the ancient East, and all the mystic arts and all the mystic paths, they really emphasize how doing more is not always better. Quoting yourself being spiritual by doing all these different practices doesn't make you more inclined to the path. It can actually hinder yourself. Do whatever is necessary that you feel called to by the universe, by the divine will of God, by the divine will of the supreme being, whatever you want to call it. Do whatever it is that you feel drawn to, but don't make that your everything, because you are just using these things as tools to be able to experience everything. Don't make it your everything. Then you're just putting yourself in a box, just like somebody who is super materialistic. They make everything about, I'm gonna get this car, I'm gonna get this house, I'm gonna get this all these nice things, these clothes, blah blah blah, and they don't ever open themselves up to other aspects of life. Oh, maybe the spiritual side of life. Oh, maybe the social side of life. Oh, maybe the family side to life. Like, you just putting yourself in a spiritual box is the same thing. I'm spiritual, I can't do this, I can't do that, blah blah blah. Like, restriction. And a lot of these spiritual practices, they don't restrict you. They're not trying to restrict you. They're trying to transcend things. Instead of being a degenerate, they're trying to help you become more regenerate. Like, you're trying to use this energy to actually direct it to higher purposes in life. It's not about, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Don't put yourself in a box where I'm spiritual, so I can't do these things. It's, I'm on the spiritual path, and by choosing to do higher pursuits, it's gonna benefit me more. And when you do that, and when you're not attaching yourself to, I can't do this, I can't do that, blah 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 blah, the more free flowing life becomes. And that's where the true spiritual power of any path comes into play, because spirituality is about freedom, not freedom and like liberal freedom where I can do whatever I want, but it's freedom of attachments. I'm not expecting I have to do this to get that. You're not putting so much stress and stuff like that within your life and within the overall pursuits that you have. That, okay, if I put in all this work to this video and I only get X amount of views, then I'm a loser, I'm this, I'm that. I'm attaching myself and I'm attaching my ego to certain results and outcomes in life that are impermanent, that are temporary. True spirituality will give you the concepts and ideas and just overall knowledge and wisdom and gnosis, inner knowledge, inner divine knowledge, inner divine wisdom that will help you look at things from a higher perspective. Same analogy. Okay, I do all this work with this video and it gets X amount of views. Well, that was the divine will of God, and that was just the way fate had it, and I'm just gonna do my part, and I'm gonna remain detached because I felt a draw or pull to do this video. I wasn't just doing it for the attachment of, oh look, people are gonna think I'm spiritual. Oh look, people are gonna think I'm really successful in life. You're just doing things through not for the good of people, quote unquote. Not like, I don't want to make it seem like that, because that is a good thing, but human nature, we all have a selfish tendency to us because that's literally ingrained within us. Like, you can't think of your only about other people. That's just not how things go. You won't survive. But you're not doing things only for the only good for the other people, but you're doing things for essentially the universe, like I've talked about before on my Patreon, to act upon you as a divine vessel, as a divine vehicle for the cosmic order of life. You're not trying to force things. You're not trying to attach to things. You're not trying to make things egoic and very essentially masculine, in a sense where it's either wins or failures, it's either success or no success, it's either I am spiritual, they're not spiritual. It's not duality anymore. You're just being, you're just that. You are there. Everything in life that you do, yes, you have pursuits and stuff like that. Yes, you want to become better developed on your spiritual path, but attaching yourself to, I am spiritual, I can't do this, I can't do that, I gotta listen to this, I can only listen to that, I don't want to talk to these people, blah 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 blah. You're just creating barriers, doors and stuff like that, that you won't be able to truly experience the universe in totality. Strip off those identifications, strip off those barriers, and strip off this whole connotation and conception that you are anything. You are not spiritual, you are not physical, you are not mental, you are not a YouTuber, you are not a son, you are not a boyfriend, you are not a just human being. You are just that. You are just a being. You are just an observer of this experience. This is just a very dense dream. Everything you attach yourselves to is gonna make the dream more dense, and the illusion more, it will make the illusion stronger. It will strengthen the illusion. And the further you get into that illusion, the further you put yourself down in the deep end, the harder it is to swim out of it. So throw these things away, throw all attachments away. And it's not easy. You're still gonna naturally, like I said before, attach yourself to certain things in life because that's just human nature. But the more aware you can become of it, and the more overall you can raise your levels of consciousness to catch it before it happens or catch it in the act, the better you're off you're gonna be on the spiritual path. Because all these types of people, when it comes to New Age spirituality or even religion, they'll follow blindly because they think that they are this religion, they are that religion. I am spiritual, I am Buddhist, I am this, I am that, I am all these terms and languages that just further reinforce the ego's grip on you. And again, the ego is something that you want to use to your advantage. I talked about this on Patreon as well, talking about essentially how to cultivate a healthy ego, because you can't destroy it completely. You can transcend it to the point where it does not have control over you. You have control over it. The observer has eyes on top of it, rather than the ego saying, I'm going to be in charge. But you have to actually put certain practices in place to get to that point. Yet just trying to kill the ego, that's something where you're not gonna be able to survive in this plane of existence. So what's the happy medium? Like I said, transcending the ego. Like I said, not attaching yourself to anything to where the ego just gets more food filled into its stomach, more fuel to its fire. The better you're able to do that, the more you're gonna excel on the spiritual path without even trying to be spiritual, funny enough. Without quote unquote saying to people, oh, I'm spiritual. Without having to claim to the world as a cry for help or a cry for attention that I'm spiritual, when in reality, Most times people are doing that, they're insecure about themselves and they're trying to attach their ego to a new concept that they learn, a new essentially bigger image and bigger picture that they're putting themselves into, where they feel accepted by other people. Oh, maybe people will like me more because I'm spiritual. Oh, maybe I'll have more friends if I'm on this spiritual path and I'm doing all these things and I'm posting online, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's what you want to stay away from. It's not you want to stay away from spirituality and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's about not attaching yourself and not making it a identification shift. Rather, it's stripping away your false perception of identity and plugging in true knowledge of self. And that comes, like I said before, by doing less things, not just piling on more and more and more and more and more and more. Is by taking off layer by layer by layer by layer by layer till you get to the core and you're like, wow, this is what it was. I'm not there yet. I don't think any of us are really there yet. We are there yet. We are there right now. Yes, we are. Like, we're experiencing, but it's not awakened yet. It's been there. It's been there from the start. That was our natural default state of being. But as we grow up, the layers add up. Now we got to go in and do some cleaning. Hopefully you clean in your room. Spring cleaning, that's what they call it. It's spring right now. Go and clean your overall consciousness. Don't add on more nasty, dirty stuff on top of it. Nasty, dirty attachments on top of it. Strip it away, clean it away, scrub it out. Scrape it out of pocket like I cook it, man. Come on, like, that's what we really are trying to do on this path. Not attach ourselves, not compare ourselves, not identify ourselves with whatever goals we have in life. Yes, it's great to have goals, whether that's spiritual, mental, physical, materialistic. Those are great, but don't attach yourself to anything. You are just walking the path of the divine, and you see one tile light up, put your foot there, and when you do that, another tile light up on the right side, put your foot there, and just keep going, keep zigging and keep zagging. Don't ever make your whole focus on everything so narrow, especially when it comes to spiritual path. Don't make it, okay, I gotta do this, and this, then I'll become enlightened. When in reality, the universe might be pulling you in a different way for your own version of enlightenment. Not everyone's gonna become the Buddha. Not everyone's becoming Jesus. That doesn't make you quote unquote spiritual by doing that. You don't gotta go meditate up in the cave and do all these things to become spiritual and enlightened. You can become an enlightened father. That fatherhood path might be your enlightenment path. You might not think like that. Maybe that career path of becoming a doctor, that's your enlightenment path. That's your road to Christ consciousness, road to nirvana. Maybe it's being a YouTuber, content creation, a music artist, an athlete. All those paths, there's different paths that lead up to the same enlightenment, because essentially enlightenment and the pinnacle of spirituality is you're embodying your fullest potential mentally, physically, and spiritually. You're fully awakened into all of those realms of reality. You are doing your dharmic duty, if you want to call it that, in the Vedic terms, yogic terms, Hindu terms, the dharmic duty that you were ordained to do, and you're doing it in a detached state of being. You're not forcing yourself to become a doctor. You're not forcing yourself to become an athlete. Yes, you're doing the work it takes to get to that point. You're not forcing yourself to become a monk. You're not forcing yourself to become a spiritual leader. You're not forcing yourself to do anything. You're remaining detached, and you're seeing where your innate God-ordained gifts are pulling you towards, where it's drawing you towards, where it's actually like flowing you towards in life. Don't try to swim upstream when you could just go with the flow of life, and enlightenment is right there waiting for you. Don't try to go every inch and battle against the current of life, the current and flow of the universe. We all got our own path to enlightenment. That's why acting like you're spiritual, blah, 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 is, come on, man, the feds. Hear that? The coyotes. You hear that? I'm out. I told you, man. I stay out here in the field. I stay out here in the flesh. I ain't worried about none of that because I'm detached. I'm detached. I'm just kicking it. But you dig what I'm saying, man? Like, it's not. Don't try to force things. Don't try to identify with yourself with things. Like, the spiritual path is about not even letting go. I don't like even like using those terms because it means like it sounds like you're giving up anything. You're not really giving up anything. You're gaining everything back by shedding off dead weight. Like I said before on this channel, in order to elevate, you got to cut the dead weight. Cut dead weight in order to elevate. That dead weight is those attachments to life, man. Those dead weight. See, he agrees. That dead weight is just overall the concepts and identifications with whatever it is. And it's so prevalent in this whole New Age spirituality stuff where I'm not trying to make it seem like everything is bad about it, but it really can deter you away from the true spiritual knowledge that you're seeking for. It might feed the ego, it might feel nice, but it's not all about love, sunshine, and rainbows, and crystals, and psychedelics, and freaking... Man, there's a lot of noise going on. What the hell is going on? I think they're really out here for me. It's not all about those types of things. It's about... Man, come on now. Alright, so the noise finally died out, but let me wrap this up. It's not about attaching yourself and all these things, a true spiritual path. It's about finding, not even finding, just letting your universal pull draw you towards the types of tools, the types of philosophies, the types of books, the types of pieces of content that you really connect with. Take whatever actually applies into your life and let it draw you towards the next phases, the next things you need to do to find out your own path to enlightenment, to your own version of spiritual unfoldment. It's going to be different from me to you, to the other person, to your mom, to your dad, to your brother, to your cat, to your dog, to your fucking fish. It's going to be different. It's going to look different. But hey, man, once we take off all the layers, guess where we're at? The same spot. And that's when the ego dies down. It gets transcended. It doesn't get killed. Maybe it deceases for a little bit, but it's transcended to the point where we see the unity and connection between all. And we see our union with the all. Duality no more there. Duality is gone. And you are now flowing in life, with life, in life, as life, with a different perspective that you could not really imagine before. So don't let this whole concept and this idea, maybe you had a spiritual awakening, maybe you're finally getting into all these types of things, maybe it's my channel, maybe it's other people's channel, and you just stumbled upon this right now. Don't let all that stuff warp your head and make you think that you are something more destined for greatness because you're on the spiritual path. That is your version, maybe that's your path to where you need to go in life. Other people's spiritual path could be something more practical in a sense, like we were saying before. Maybe they're just a father, that's their spiritual path. Maybe they're becoming a doctor, that's their spiritual path. They don't know it, they don't see it. Oh, they're praying, oh, they're meditating, oh, they're doing mantras, oh, they're doing all these types of practices we talk about, but they're doing it in their own version. So don't make it seem where spirituality is just this box. The box, once you understand true spirituality, that's when the box is lifted and now you see things for what they are. It's like, you know, a snow globe, how it's just got the dome over it. Now you open up the snow globe and look, and we're in a huge radius of 100 times, million times more than what we were before. Do that with your consciousness. Take off the dome. Take off the dome off your own dome. Then you get to see things for what they are because you're detached. That dome is the attachments to anything, whether it's spirituality, whether that's fitness, whether that's philosophy, whether that's money, whether that's women, whether that's your ethnicity. all that stuff, man, like we talked about before. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, man, just let that marinate, let that sink in. It might not click at first, but if you understand the main message of this video, that the ego is present and can take over no matter who you are in life, no matter how spiritual you think you are, no matter what level of consciousness you're at, it is something that you got to be aware of. And the way you become aware of it is by transcending it, and the way you transcend it is by letting go of the attachments. The more you let go of the attachments, the more benefits you'll receive. The less, because on the spiritual path, like I said before, less is more. Doing less will cultivate more results, more rewards, and more overall growth and development on this overall path. So there it is, bro. The spiritual ego is a real fucking thing. So don't get caught up in it, man, because I'm out here in the field, in the flesh, dropping y'all that game so you guys can make these gains, and I'm out here. Peace.